Hey guys, Cruxel, welcome back to the channel. Today is going to be a little bit of a trial run for the upcoming series I'm hoping to make on some solo queue strategies for you guys who don't have any friends to play with or are forced to solo queue oftentimes. And I'm going to be showing you the best strategies for these sites on some of my favorite maps that really have helped me out when I have solo play, and especially when my teammates are communicating properly and I'm forced to basically play by myself, trying to get as much frags and help the team out as much as possible. So up first is going to be A site, of course. And A site is the site that I play more often, honestly. There's a lot of positions to play. I would not really recommend forklift up first because you do have to have a teammate that's communicating a lot from wherever he's playing, whether it be quad or truck. And if you don't have that information, you can get mollied off or smoked off and pushed very easily. And basically that's half of your site control taken away at that moment. I'm not in any way saying that forklift isn't a viable place to be playing, but if you have a dipshit on site with you that's not communicating, I would definitely avoid it. For sure, the most important smoke if you're playing on a solo queue and you don't have people that know the smokes is this A main smoke. So you can do it quickly by getting into this little wedge between the tire on the back end of the truck here and aiming at a little bit into the sickle corner there. The other way to do it, which is quicker and more accurate and gives a better smoke, is get in that opposite corner and aim between the two words up there on the sign. It's going to smoke it off nice and deep, and they're not going to be able to peek out without having any sort of repercussions, whether you shoot them or flash them or anything like that. They're just going to be super blind throughout A main. And if you get this smoke off, it is a little bit better to play fork. But again, you're going to be wanting to play sight as much as possible and not fork, because if you don't have information from your teammates, you're kind of playing mindless, and there's a lot of ways you can be pushed and killed there very easily. I play quad very often here on this map, and there are these other angles like NBK or even default, but those are what I call one-off angles, whereas if they see you hiding there, you're probably going to get a kill or two, but then you're going to get traded as you're having to reload, or just taking so much damage from all these people pushing you once they see you and call you out. It's a pretty easy death, so you're going to want to do that every once in a while, whereas quad, you can play around the box, kind of play for time as well, and as they push, get into those other angles and hide further back on site. The other part of default that I dislike is the fact that once they open up squeaky, you're pretty much forced to only either spam through it or hold this back angle, which is kind of a pussy ass angle, and they're going to be pushing you and killing you very quickly. So like I said, you can spam between squeaky, or you have to get them as they come out, and that's not always the easiest frag. They're often going to be pre-aiming you as they come out as well. And around the corner here, they can jump on top of red. There's just so many ways they can surround you, even behind red. It's not a good spot to be playing unless you're forced there. The one exception for that, I will say, is sometimes terrorists will throw this smoke for quad, and at that point they are pretty blind coming out of it, so you can get some good frags as they come out of the smoke. As you guys know, you're going to see them before they see you. A lot of times they'll come out with bomb out in lower ranks trying to get this default plan off, and it is just a easy time for you to get those frags. You can even play further back in red like this, but that is only an angle that I would want to play every once in a while. It's not something you want to get used to. I find myself playing there a lot, and it gets me killed a lot because they start to get predictive of where you are. You don't want to ever be too predictable when you're playing these sites, and also if you get mollied off quad, you can fall back to there, but overall I would just try to stick to quad and get that A main smoke out. Truck is honestly a really tricky niche spot. They're going to be smoking off fork or mollying it off, and it's going to ruin your visibility, so unless you're hitting those shots, you're basically giving up control to whoever else is playing A with you, and they're most likely going to get rushed and die, and you're not even getting much information for them. So if you have an op, really I would focus on playing quad as well for that, because it's easier to get more information and still play around it, push out to red and get other off angles like this, assuming you have a good mid player that's holding mid, and you're going to be baiting your teammates a lot less. Whereas in truck, if you're not hitting shots, you're really just kind of giving them sight once they push out. Also, if you have a teammate that's playing truck, you can kindly ask them to kind of give up their spot, pull out a rifle and pull up to fork here and play more aggressively. Just communicate to them nicely, say, hey man, I think that they're pushing on the site too easily when you're playing truck, and you're not really holding your angles. Another thing, if you have a really strong mid player, Catwalk is another position that a lot of people kind of sleep on, and it's one of my favorites because you can watch the squeaky angle, which squeaky is a very big force to be reckoned with a good team that's coordinated on the opposite side. You can spam through it, or once they peek out, you can shoot them, as well as peek into A main. And a little tip I have for that is jump on the railing as a bit of an off angle when you're peeking A main, because good teams will be pre-aiming for you up in Catwalk as well, and that's just going to have them hit your legs instead of your head right away. This is the route to get fastest up there. I'm sure most of you guys know that jump sequence, as well as the fact that if you throw that A main smoke that I showed you earlier, you can hop into this deep side of the scaffolding and look away towards the wall for anti-flash, or just peek out. And as they're jumping into the shroud boost or out into A or under the fork, you're going to get really easy frags as they're coming out of that smoke, and they're just going to be feeding you pretty much. It's one of my favorite things to do, but again, you don't want to do it too often. That is really with a good aggressive mid player or someone who's holding angles with the op really well, because if someone's playing white box and they get pushed or killed or they fall back, you're pretty much going to get dicked on without even knowing that they were in mid in the first place. So make sure you really only play that back part of Catwalk if you have someone that's communicating in mid and really closing their frags and lets you know when they're rotating out. That's one aspect of Catwalk that is really tricky, is that if this upper falls back, you are really vulnerable from there. So make sure you push off deeper into Catwalk or down into Forklift if you can jump down there and make it. Now moving on into mid, which is, in my opinion, like most maps, the best place to carry if you have good op skills or are quick, or what I would say the best person on the team. If you can kind of tell that you're playing at a level above your other teammates, or you're really good at opping, I would ask them kindly if you can play mid. The easiest smoke is just running towards this little metal grate. Before you hit the railing, throw it. It's super loosey-goosey, nice, easy smoke. And the Molotov is really easy as well. As you turn the corner, aim above the left side of the metal on the railings above a boost into the apartments, kind of. And it's a super easy molly to throw. You're going to want to practice it as you're running forward, maybe in an offline server before you go into game, because it's easy to mess up if you don't wait long enough to throw it. But those used in combination as well can help you get to white box really easily if you have a bad spawn, and that's a great place to hold as well, because you can alternate your angles from up top onto the spools or to the side. It's nice to just isolate those angles because you're not going to want to be worrying about both, or they can jump down from boost and get to white box if you're playing Z, vice versa. They can just slip through the cracks. So you want to be at least isolating one of those angles, as well as if you aren't, make sure you go in and offline and really practice that pre-aim for boost, because that's going to be a really hard frag to close if you're not quick with the op. On an eco round, you're good to throw the smoke and push up. Just make sure you're walking when you get close, and you can get some information in mid here for some footsteps. Maybe they push through the smoke and get some easy frags, or rotate to vents easily, as well as this jump, which exists, but a lot of people who aren't in the lower ranks are going to hear you and pretty much know where you are. And even if they don't, once you do this once, you're definitely going to be found out the next time. So really only do that on save rounds or anti-ecos. Now finally moving on into B site, guys, which, like I said, I don't have as much experience with playing on solo queues. Usually I only play this when I'm with my buddies and we kind of know how each other play. And it's a lot easier of a site to hold when you have good teamwork, in my opinion. So that's why solo queues, I would say, try to focus on A bit more. But if you're comfortable on B, I got some tips for you here. First things first, you guys got to stop holding this angle with just a rifle and not an op or a scout with a dry angle here, meaning no smoke or flash or molly to hold you off, because they're going to push out. If they don't kill you, you're going to fall back, and you're basically just playing a retake situation and baiting the fuck out of your teammate that's on site, and that's no fun because he's going to die and they pretty much have sight. As well as playing aggressively here, you're going to want to only do that if you have it smoked off or have someone who is communicating in mid, because when they go vent, they can squeeze you in, or they can push from B main and you don't even get the call, and your teammate is basically locking you into checkers, which will maybe account for 1 or 2 frags, but they're going to get traded and you're going to die, and then they're going to be able to take sight a lot easier as well. I will say from heaven though, you're fine playing it with an op dry, but oftentimes they're going to be smoking it off. A great smoke for you to throw, especially if you're going to be aggressive, is get up into heaven here in this corner, aim where the brown lines meet up there in the side, and then you can get this smoke that basically covers the cross. They can see if they jump up onto this box here, but that's a pretty vulnerable angle for them, and you should be able to get that frag. And it's great if you want to play aggressive. Again, this is something I do on an anti-eco often, but it's not something you want to be doing every round because they're going to start predicting where you are. Headshot is probably the best place to play if there's no one there already, and you can easily rotate onto site and then play those more passive aggressive angles. What I will say about the passive angles on B is those should not be a first result, meaning you shouldn't be doing that right from the start of the round, because you're basically giving no information to your teammates, you're baiting the fuck out of them on site, and you're waiting for them to push, which you don't want to give them the site and then try to take it back from them while you're already on there. You want to be playing these aggressive angles and then fall back to these angles where you're kind of hiding on site as a result when you kind of get over encumbered and there's too many people on site. Assuming your teammate on B isn't hiding as well, you guys should both be as aggressive as possible and making sure that you're holding this site away from people who are trying to take it, because once they break into this main room, it's pretty hard to stop them from taking B. Another thing with checkers as well, don't be too aggressive and push into B main or get greedy, especially if you don't hear anyone, because often people will be sunroom, or as you're crossing back onto site, they'll get you. So make sure you're patient in checkers. So that pretty much does it for my solo queue tips, guys. I know I showed you grenades that I've already shown you for my No BS series, but I wanted to show them kind of in action for those of you that don't really know how to apply that shit in game. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this longer form video. I am going to start doing these more often, and if you like this series, I'm going to do more maps in the future. But first, I'm going to get the terrorist side for cash out next, if you guys enjoyed enough and showed enough love. Also, I'd like to treat this outro for this video as a formal thank you for you guys allowing me to hit 75K. That is a huge milestone that I honestly never thought I would ever reach. You guys still blow my mind with how much love you show the video, so thank you so much. Big giveaway on the way for that shit. Make sure you stay tuned on that. Thanks for watching. Just stretching and yawning for sex been up on it. What's an opponent? It's been so long since I know what early in the morning. Cutting up roaches, stretching and yawning for sex been up on it. What's an opponent? It's been so long since I know.